Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining today's session on building native AI talent. I'm Jim Swafford, the Director of Sales here in North America for Prism Force, and I'm joined today with Somnath Chatterjee, who is the founder of Prism Force, and Tej Pratap, who is leading our product. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to share some of the things that we've learned while working with over 35 enterprise organizations using workforce transformation. And more importantly, we're going to give you a framework and tools that you can take back to your organizations. So I'll hand it over to Som, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be in this webinar. My name is Somnath Chatterjee. You can call me Som. I used to be a partner in McKinsey for many years, served a lot of tech services as well as software companies and enterprises on a variety of topics, including talent management. And then 5 years ago, started Prism Force with this as an area of focus for us. Started this with a few of my ex-McKinsey colleagues and a few batchmates from college. And we are backed by Sequoia. As Jim said, we work with a lot of tech services companies as well as software players and broader enterprises and help them make their talent much more AI ready. In a world which is where you're likely to see a lot of onslaught of AI, right? We are on the human side. We are trying to make humans a lot more productive, a lot more, I would say, capable when it comes to using AI tools for their benefits. So very happy to be here and happy to share some perspectives of our learnings as well.
Thank you, Som. Tej?
Hi everyone, my name is Tej Pratap. I lead products at Prism Force, being a founding team member here. Prior to this, I was leading product management function for India retail business at Amazon, and I worked at McKinsey for 5 years in the same domain. Glad to be here and sharing some of the learnings from our work on this topic.
Thank you. And as I said, my name is Jim Swafford. I have been in this space working with workforce transformation, resource management for about the last 25 years, mostly in tech services, but also several financial services and professional services organizations. I've seen a lot of this, occur over the last couple of decades, and I will tell you, the last 2 to 3 years, the changes have happened so quickly that it's astronomical. And whoever can take charge of this and master it, they're going to succeed. And hopefully that's what we're going to give you is some of the tool sets that you can take back with you. So if you can go to the next slide, please, Tish. Next one. This is just a brief overview. I mean, who are we to be talking to you about workforce transformation, right? What I want to do is just point out, some of the customers. Som said we have, over 35 enterprise customers that we've been working with, different verticals, IT services, financial services, banking, professional services, automotive. Everyone has people. Everyone's being affected by AI some way or the other. And, like I said, if you're going to succeed, then you're going to need to transform your workforce into harnessing that AI tool set that's coming. Next slide, please. A little about the products we provide, and this is really to give you an understanding of what we do and why we believe that we're qualified to speak to you about AI transformation. We, if you look on the upper right-hand side, we have resource skills management, and we also handle resource demand and supply. And then we also look at a period, here in the center where we look at the outlook, the forecast. Do you have the right resources in the future? And a lot of that is going to be tied to, are they AI ready? Are they going to have that skill set that you require in the next 6 to 12 months? What we're going to be talking today a little bit about, which helps the foundation of this discussion, is the center bottom, which is our AI quotient platform. With that, we can actually help you define the roles that you need for AI, as well as mapping those individuals with their skill sets and identifying where you have gaps so that you can upskill your existing talent base. Tej?
Sure. Sure, Jim. So, Jim, thanks for setting up the context. Thank you all for joining. One ground rule before we start the main content part. So, we have the Q&A chat open. In case you have any questions about the topic, please feel free to keep putting it in the Q&A chat. And we'll spend roughly 30 minutes on the core content, sharing our learnings, sharing some of the frameworks and tools that we have seen working. And last 20 to 25 minutes, we'll just focus on answering your questions and starting with that discussion, right? So with the logistics aside, I think we are all practitioners on this webinar, and all of us really are seeing in this ground on the ground on how AI is reshaping the work, right? It's completely reshaping how the work gets done. It's completely reshaping how the role definitions are changing. And it's not limited to any single industry, right? It's not only limited to, for example, an IT services industry, which probably could be the hub of it. But if you see, even within healthcare and pharma, right, with ambient clinical scribes, we have seen companies achieving almost 70 to 80% automation in documentation. And physicians are able to claim almost 2 to 3 hours per day for themselves, right? IT, of course, is the most affected one. Strong move from earlier software development lifecycle to agentic development lifecycle. The delivery and commercial models are changing. Multiple new roles are emerging, like forward deployed engineer, agentic design leads, and so on, right? So highly affected industry. Even if you see automotive, right? Use cases like AI-based inspection, AI-based prototype generation, generative design, digital production platforms. These are providing quite a bit of efficiency gains to companies, right? And similarly on banking and pharma, like banking and financial services side also, a lot of analysts task AI credit decisioning, fraud decision, co-pilot driven compliance is being driven by AI now, right? So it's probably a trivial statement to make now, but AI is everywhere. It's really redefining how work is being done and consequently the role requirements, right? Now, a typical response if when we are talking to some of the companies and organizations is, hey, can I hire AI talent and then solve this problem, right? That AI talent can solve these problems for me, it can build the use cases for me, and it can truly lead to transformation of my company. But this is a problem that organizations can't hire away with, and I'll tell you why. AI talent comes at a premium, right? So if you go today in the market and you try to hire a RAG implementation specialist or a GenAI engineer, these people actually come at 30 to 40% higher hiring premium, right? So it's not a sustainable or a scalable way where you can just completely hire this problem away. And that's where this entire focus on upskilling and transforming your current workforce becomes much, much more important. And then there is another interesting BCG study which says that AI ROI, like you can get probably from 10% investments on algorithm, 20% technology and data, but 70% of value of AI transformation lives in people and process changes, right? So you would have heard a lot of stories, right? We have bought 50,000 Copilot licenses, right? But are we seeing the ROI out of it? Similarly, we have installed ambient scribes, right? But is it really giving us the right productivity gains? And some of this is happening because while the tool and infrastructure is there, the people transformation, the process transformation has not reached there yet, right? And that is what AIQ tries to solve. And we'll talk a bit more about this in detail, right? So we call this AI quotient offering. We'll share this framework with you. Happy to take any questions and feedback on this. But let me then get deeper into it, right? So Prismforce AI Quotient platform or the framework, it helps organization redefine the roles of future. That's one. It helps you baseline your talent against the future role requirements. And then it also gives you the right tools, interventions to transform your workforce to be ready for the roles of the future, right? So those are the three core objectives that we achieve through this platform or framework. And we do this by like there's a four-step framework that we typically use. We first decompose the work into tasks, and we have a point of view on which tasks are going to be completely automated with AI, which tasks will be augmented with AI, but they'll still require human judgment, which tasks need to be human heavy even in future with the current AI capabilities, right? So that's one part. And then again, what AI competencies will help you achieve those transformations, right? Which help you achieve, automate, augment the task, right? So the AI competencies also become important. So the decomposition is the first part. And that leads to the second part. Then when each of the tasks for a particular role is changing, the role is also changing. So how will the roles of future look like with this transformation? There is a point of view on that. And we'll show you some real life examples based on our work. Once you have defined the future of roles, then the employee fit discovery comes into picture. So if I am if I am a full stack developer on Java, my role is going to change. What are my current AI capabilities? How do I stack against my future role requirements? That's the baselining we help organizations do. And finally, once you know what the future of role looks like, how the employee baseline looks like, then to bridge the gap, there are interventions which the platform suggests. So those are the four steps. And this is not a one-off process. Most of the organizations where we have seen this succeeding do this in a continuous loop because AI capabilities are evolving, the roles are evolving, the tools are evolving, right? So typically on a quarterly or half-yearly basis, this entire loop keeps feeding into itself. And those are the cases where we are seeing most of the success. I'll take a pause, Jim, if you have any thoughts, anything you want to add until now. Otherwise, we can move to the next.
Yeah, I do. And obviously, I'm not a technical person, which is why I'm in sales. But I look at this as this is a continuation of the industrial revolution, right? We are just taking that next step, and you can liken this to as the textile industry moved from a cottage industry into the factories. You couldn't just pick up the people out of their homes that were making the textiles and just move them to the factory and expect them to be more productive. You needed to take those individuals, learn, the new tools that have been placed into that factory. What does it take to run those tools? And look at the individuals and see who's the right fit for those machines, right? This is a very similar concept as far as I'm concerned. So it's nothing new. It's just another phase in history. And what we need to do today is do something very similar, but just take it and learn who's the right fit for the new roles that AI has introduced. AI is that new factory. That's the way I view it, but I may be wrong. You're the expert. If you could, is it how off base am I?
Yeah.
No, Jimmy, I think that go ahead. So I'm sorry, you had something.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add that versus the previous revolutions, right? Like this, the big change here is the pace of change itself, right? No one would have
Yeah.
expected like how things have changed over the last probably 2.5 years, ever since Chat GPT came to the scene. And
Mhm.
clearly, I think, of course, enterprises might take their own time to adopt, but the direction is very clear that a lot of the work will potentially get done through agents or tools, and a lot of the human work would be a lot more to do with judgment, a lot more to do with orchestration of the work rather than the work itself, right? And that's the big
Yeah.
shift which is happening. And players who are like ready for this shift ahead of time would definitely gain a lot of competitive advantage, right? Because in a way, for the first time probably in history, a new factor of production has got added, right? It's not just about human and labor alone, right? But even AI can bring that intelligence to the fore and get things done. This get things done is what has changed. Earlier, it was a lot more to do with productivity, and now it's a lot more to do with getting things done entirely almost through agents or through AI.
Thank you for that note.
Thank
So
you.
makes sense. Moving on, now what we're going to do is we will just go deeper into each one of this and show how, like from some real examples on what we have seen working versus not, right? So, but before we get into that, I just quickly wanted to share the dimensions on which we have seen organizations measuring the AI readiness. After a lot of iteration, a lot of research, these are the 6 that we have seen are working. So the first dimension is around AI competency, which means do you understand what AI can and can't do in your domain? And can you economically use AI, right? So for IT, it may mean something very different. For banking, it may mean something very different, right? So that's one major dimension. The second dimension is around prompt fluency. Third is around tooling and automation. So what kind of tools and automation you need in order to succeed with AI? Some of the tasks just need tools and probably nothing else, right? Fourth is around applied AI patterns. Fifth is around using AI platforms and integrations. And sixth is around risk and governance. So those are the 6 dimensions on which we measure AI readiness. Of course, what it means for a certain domain, what it means for a certain role, that changes in the context of that domain and that role. And we will see some of those real examples when we go deeper into into this call. Finally, a lot of times I get this question when I talk to some of organizations that, hey, how is it different from ChatGPT prompt, right? Or can I just do this using any LLM, right? But the issue is, yes, you put it in ChatGPT, you will get something which is plausible, right? But a plausible is not reliable enough for enterprise decision making. What is reliable? We have a proprietary role skill task knowledge graph that we have built over last 7 years, which covers almost 40 plus industries, 2,500 plus roles, 20,000 plus skills, 25,000 plus tasks, all interconnected. These are all SME validated with almost 94 to 95% accuracy. And this is the core brain, this is the core engine that is powering this entire framework and tool. And this is what makes it different, right? It changes an interesting exercise into an enterprise grading decision system, right? So I just wanted to call that out before I move deeper into some real world examples. Sure. So I think slides are done. Let us show you some real examples on how we have seen some of the organizations transforming their workforce for AI. Right? Let me show one example, right? So this is how it typically works. The role skill task engine sits in the background and typically the clients will have their own process documents, job descriptions, or any other kind of role masters, job architecture. So we typically consume that with our clients. And once we have that information, the platform or the engine actually fine tunes the role skill task graph for a certain organization. So I'm showing you an IT services example first. And right now it's actually parsing the documents, identifying roles, extracting tasks, mapping it with the role skill task graph, computing AI automation score, and then we'll see what kind of outcome comes out of it, right? So now again, this is a summary. If you see, this slide essentially tells that it found around 7 roles, right? Full stack developer, DevOps engineer, UX designer, data scientist, technical architect, and so on. Each role has different level of AI impact, right? For full stack developer, it's around 53%. A lot of it can be augmented using AI. Whereas if you see a role like technical architect or a delivery manager, which is more human heavy, the AI automation is much lower than what it is for probably more development or process oriented roles. Now, this is just a summary. Let's get deeper into the insights, right? I will probably pick a full stack developer role. For each of the role, you can actually break it down into individual tasks, right? So for example, for a full stack developer, front-end UI component development is one of the major tasks, right? It's either done by the developer or it could be done by UX designer also in some workflows, right? Backend API development is another task, right? Code review, pull requests, another task. Bug triaging, root cause analysis, unit test, integration test. These are all the tasks which are mapped to this particular role, right? Now, Within this framework, we also break the tasks, like map it, like are these critical? How critical are this for a particular role, right? So that mapping is there. But here is where the real insight or real value lies, right? So each task, can it be automated using AI, or can it be augmented using AI, or does it need to be human heavy, right? So that's the incremental value that this framework provides. So for example, writing unit test, doing integration testing, end-to-end test authoring. This is something which is highly automable, right? AI can do almost 70% of this in an automated manner. And which AI competencies are needed? So I need prompt fluency, I need tools and automation. So there are AI-based tools which can actually help you write unit tests, right? So those are the competencies which are needed in order to realize this potential. The framework also gives you in detail what AI can do in future versus what tasks or what part of the tasks will stay human heavy. So there are a point of view on that. Now, if we pivot this, one, we get how much of that role is going to get impacted with AI. So that's one outcome of this breakdown. Second, you also know which of the 6 AI competencies are important for this role, right? So for example, for a full stack developer, prompt copilot fluency is quite important. AI skill competence is important because you need to know tokenomics, you need to know basic Gen AI concepts. Tooling and automation is critical. It's probably like at the same level because you need to know how to use low code, no code tools like Cursor, Claude Cowork. So those 3 are at very high level. And then risk and governance, it's needed, probably not at par with other competencies, but needed nevertheless. And model patterns is also needed. Again, probably not at par with other competencies, but needed, right? So for each role, we define a radar like this, which tells which of the competencies are important and what's the proficiency needed into that, right? The framework also provides what are the new AI era skills needed for this role in future, right? So there are certain current skills which will continue to be important. There are certain new AI skills which will become important or are already important. For example, prompt engineering for code generation, AI paired programming, AI code review tools. These are the skills 2 years or 3 years prior you won't see in the job description, so you won't see being asked for, but these will become increasingly important as we move ahead. And then there may be certain skills which will decline in future, right? So manual boilerplate coding, right? So those kind of things are declining. So that's another point of view that comes out of it. And then of course, you can convert it into a job description and so on. I want to highlight 2 interesting aspects on this page. One is investments. So when we are talking about AI transforming work or AI transforming roles, right? It's not only about training people or upskilling people. Uh, it's a mix of both tooling investments as well as training people, right? Capability development as well as infrastructure investments, right? So if the organizations have their investments, generally they overlay it on top of this framework to say, okay, out of 10 things, I have 2. Therefore, I can realize only probably 20% of the potential and not 60% of potential, right? So that's another kind of interesting thing that we are seeing our organizations doing, that for all the tooling investments, what do you already have, what you don't have, and this is the library that kind of enables it. And finally, assessment. So again, I won't go deeper into this, but for each role, a very role-specific assessment which tests the people capability on these dimensions for these proficiency. The framework also provides you that intelligence. So that's all. That's the thing that we break down for each of the roles. Now, I only showed you the role part of it, but if you want to take a process view of this, right, like a front-end engineering or a like test engineering, right? So you can view it in both ways. You can take a process view and then see how AI is transforming that process, or you can take a role view and then view how the AI is transforming that process. So both are possible. Now, this is an IT services example, but I don't want you to leave this webinar with a thought that, hey, this is only IT specific problem, right? So I'll probably take 30 seconds to see how to show, like, for example, in healthcare sector, a medical receptionist or a medical assistant, right? All those roles are truly going to get transformed. Like, for example, things like pre-visit planning and chart review, right? Or care plan update, patient portal push, ambient scribe, right? So patient doctor the conversation recording, all those things are highly AI augmentable or AI automable. But if you see things like vitals collection, symptom assessment and triage, these will stay human heavy, right? So it's not a single domain problem. Similarly, we have worked with a lot of automotive players also, and you can see the same trend there too, right? So for example, if I'm taking a sales manager, where of course some part will stay human heavy, like relationship building or coaching the sales teams or the dealers, those will stay human heavy. But a lot of work is again getting AI augmented, right? You can do forecasting, quota setting. It can be augmented with AI along with human judgment, right? So the point I wanted to make is all the industries are seeing this trend, and this framework can be applied to all of them in order to figure out how the roles of the future are changing. I'll take a pause, see if there are any thoughts. Again, Jim, so if you want to add anything, any learnings from your side.
Jim, anything? Yeah, I think what I wanted to say is slightly different from the typical approach you may have seen, which is around creating career architecture and so on, right? Like here, the difference is that like you're taking a very AI first kind of lens, because it's only a matter of time before, like probably 2, 3 years down the line, a lot of the organizations will become much more AI native than what they are today, especially large enterprise organizations, and you have to think differently about roles and skills, and only then you will be able to break down the silos and get the most out of the AI investments that you are anyway planning to do, right? And to do that, like you cannot just like depend only on hiring AI native talent, because as Tej was saying, they come at a much higher cost, and it's not that easy to find also. You would have seen a lot of software companies, tech services companies are talking about building FDE ready kind of talent. So probably there are only 5,000 FDEs globally, and everyone is announcing few thousands of FDE. How do you think, how else do you think they are doing that, right? Very likely that they are doubling down on their existing talent, picking and choosing the ones which are probably higher on the learnability capability side, and then taking them through a particular transformation, right? An individual transformation on the skill side, and then hoping to build that FD kind of cadre. So this is a step in that direction, and it's not limited to only software players or tech services players, as some of us were telling. It can be applied to all industries. Of course, the ones which are at the forefront of tech change will get more impacted than others. But matter of time before marketing, commercial. The other day we were talking to a pharma company, automotive player. Everyone is thinking in this direction, right? And players who are not like taking strategic and proactive steps around this would likely be left behind vis-a-vis competition.
Sure. Thank you, so thanks for adding that. So I'll probably come back here. What we covered till now is we saw how we are seeing organizations doing work decomposition and role redefinition, and therefore defining what roles will consolidate, what roles will emerge, how the roles will change, what will be the skills, and so on, right? So that's the part we have seen just now. Now, I'll probably quickly cover. I know we have 5 to 10 minutes more on the main content, and then we move to question and answer. But I just wanted to show how people are doing employee fit discovery and interventions, right? So once organizations have defined the roles of future, right, then the second part becomes, are my people ready for that role? Or what are the areas which they need to cover in order to get ready for that role, right? So that's where again we are seeing employee fit discovery happening at scale, and this needs to be done at scale, right? You can't do it with probably 10, 100 and just sit on it. So that's where we are seeing, like again, using existing skills data. If you have, for example, a skill management system like Skill Prism, then you can pull out data from that, the existing AI usage data from your, for example, GitHub Copilot admin. So a lot of organizations are using that as first layer. But then again, we're seeing a lot of times skills systems may not have AI skills updated, or option may be low if you're not using something. Some clients may just not have any skill management system. So the accuracy and the view that typically we see from just 2A is not that great, right? And that's where the AI-based assessments come into picture. So again, a lot of our clients are using AI-based tools to do 45-minute to 1 hour long assessments, very situational judgment questions, MCQs, which are very much embedded in the role, right? And use that information to figure out who has the right AI competencies versus what are the improvement areas for employees, right? And for certain coding heavy roles, we are also seeing organizations implementing AI labs or coding assessments so that they can test those things in detail. But again, these are time consuming and investment heavy. So mostly we are seeing it for coding heavy roles. This is being done, right? So if I have to summarize, mostly AI-based assessment run at scale. For some of the roles like FTE or ADL, do AI labs also, so that you make sure that your talent is truly there. Typically, people get like insights like this out of it. What's your overall AI quotient? What's the target for your role? Across the 6 dimensions, what is the expectation from your role and where you stand today, with all the explainability there. So fully, and this is a real report that I'm showing, redacted, anonymized, sanitized, but with full explainability on why we believe. And this explainability can come actually from the 3 sources that we discussed. What AI skills the employee has, what AI certifications the employee has, what AI projects the employee has done. Again, some of these data points are becoming increasingly important as people are building AI capabilities, but in old systems, it's just not present there, right? So with AIQ, you can get this kind of information. And finally, here's the most critical thing, right? If Tej has certain capability gaps, right? There are certain areas where Tej needs to build his or her capability, then there are interventions also suggested in the platforms. For example, the interventions could be a course or a learning. The intervention could be a mini project, something that the employee can actually build in their current scope of work in order to build AI capabilities. Or it could be mini tasks. So for example, read Anthropic's latest paper on Fable 5.0, right? So these are more knowledge gathering tasks and all. So through a mix of trainings, learnings, courses, mini projects, mini actions, organizations are actually transforming their people, right? And again, the beauty of this is it's hyper personalized, right? What Tej sees here is very, very relevant for Tej. What Som sees here is very different from Tej, but relevant for Som. And what Jimmy sees here is very relevant for him, right? So hyper personalized interventions, which are shown here. Now, that's not the only thing. As an organization, people do get to see views like who's role ready, right? For example, if you are building an FDE talent workforce, right? So if I assess people against that, who can be FDE ready in 1 month, right? Who can be FDE ready in a quarter? Where should I just not invest because they're too far behind and the ROI on investment will just not make sense, right? So again, those are some of questions which people are asking, like using this to answer. Similarly, what roles I have most gap in, right? Again, this helps organization do very focused interventions, right? Make very focused investments, which then enhances the overall ROI of the investments. So in this example, for example, project management group or GenAI engineer group has the highest gap. So there could be very focused interventions, both from training, tooling perspective in these groups, which will give the maximum ROI to this organization. Team-wise intervention teams. So there's a lot that can come out of it, but again, I'll keep it short. And then finally, like this is another example, we kind of worked with one of the leading software players to see the use case that I mentioned. They want to build a FD-ready workforce, and they're using, again, this AIQ framework to define what the role means, to find who are the people who can be ready in a month, in a quarter, in a year, and then actually doing those interventions in order to build the FD talent. So that's another case study. And again, one last point, we talked almost for last 30 minutes on this, and this is not something which is working in theory, right? We are seeing extremely positive results on ground also. While we completely agree that this is an evolving space and a lot is changing very fast, but at least the initial results are very promising. So for example, For one of the large tier companies, we were able to increase their emerging skill capabilities, right, which includes most of the AI skills, from 2 percentage point to almost 8 percentage over a period of 2 years, right? And there's a very large org, so the actual absolute impact was quite high. There's another case, almost 25,000 plus employees over 6 months. The competent and proficient improved by almost 12 percentage points using a mix of AIQ and the skill management system. So again, orgs are using this with preliminary success. And again, the use cases are changing, like FD build, ADL build, and again, they are being kind of the same framework is being applied to those cases also. So I think that's what I had from my side. Jimmy, Som, if I missed anything, please feel free to add here. Otherwise, we can move to the Q&A part and answer some of the audience questions.
Thank you, Tej.
Sure. So,
Sonali, yeah, I think Sapna had a question. I know Chinmay had an answer as well, but Sapna, you want to just talk through it?
One second,
Sonali,
I'll
is it easy to-
unmute, yeah. I'll also read out the question while Sapna gets unmuted. Sapna Bharat has a question. Do the interventions then link to the HCM, LMS for a seamless experience? And then does that close the loop with skill closure record?
sure. So I think Chinmay has answered, but I can add it here verbally. Or so, Sonali, are we doing questions directly, or shall I answer here?
What I've done is I've taken the questions. They are in the pad. I can read it aloud to you.
Okay, sure.
The
So,
first one.
correct.
Yeah, if you have some time, right? Probably it might be helpful for people to also talk
People to
through it.
also, yes, I'm doing
Yeah.
that.
So can we do that?
Yes, I'm trying to. I'm unmuting. You also, then you can do it at your end and raise the question yourself. So Sapna, Melody, and all the others. Just give me 1 second. I'm just unmuted now. All the participants. Can you?
Sapna, can you speak?
Hi, Sapna and Melody, are you able to unmute and pose your questions, or else I can read those aloud?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for taking my question. I think, Tej, you had the answer top of mind, so I'll let you go unless you have a question on my question, which
Sure.
doesn't seem to be the case.
No, Sapna, I think very fair question. And once this hits the ground, that becomes probably the most pertinent question that clients ask, right? But short answer to it is yes.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a single HCM part, but for example, it links to your skill management system to be able to send back those skills. It could be HCM, or it could be any like a very use case specific skill management system. It links with your LMS also. So for example, while we have the out of the box learning catalog here, some of our clients, they also use their own catalog, in which case the two-way integration happens, and we pull the catalog from there, and any completed learnings also feedback in both ways, right? So once that entire loop gets completed, only then this becomes very sustainable on an ongoing basis. But short answer to your question is yes, it does link to HCM, LMS, and probably some other systems also in order to make it seamless for users.
Excellent. I mean, I'm an HR professional, so I'm just trying to link back to how we can close the loop for the skills to skills architecture to talent succession plans and then internal mobility and so on. So I think that was where I was coming from, but that's great to hear. And I had one more question, if that's okay, to jump
please.
in.
Sure.
Is basis your experience and your identifiers so far, where have you seen a lot of heavy human involvement or judgment, so to speak. What kind of roles do these really stand out with? I think would be a very curious one that I've kind of been really pondering about since a while, but it'd be great to see what data gives you from your experience.
Yeah, maybe
Sure.
Sapna, I can get started and Tej, you can add. So clearly, I think selling roles, I do believe that people buy stuff from people, so you would require a lot of people interventions. Having said that, it will be a lot more sales augmented. For example, even today, if you look at
Mm,
probably 30-40% of a salesperson's time across industries goes
yeah,
into preparation, goes into like doing a lot of research. A
sure.
lot of that can be done through AI, right? But the act of selling, the act of doing the discussion with the client, doing discovery, doing listening, I think will continue to be like human led, and that human will be probably more superhuman, right? Because now they will have access to a lot of information, signals, even
Yeah,
before the meeting, right?
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
clearly one thing which we are seeing, Sapna.
Yeah.
And some of the other more transactional work, right? A lot of that would over time get automated away. Already it's happening.
mm,
In fact, there's this famous example in IKEA where they had this customer service agents. A lot of that work is
yes,
getting automated away, and they are trying to almost create a
yes,
new
yes.
business line by reskilling them, right, to make them more like interior architects,
Design
designers,
agents. Yes,
right, right, and
absolutely.
then like add another service line, so to say, right, and very net new kind
Correct.
of offer.
Sure.
Great.
And just to Sapna add to what Som said, right? If I have to think about it, right? Typically roles where there are very hard boundaries, either let's say compliance issues or some other issues, those we are seeing to be continue to, at least in the current time, stay human heavy,
Mm,
or roles where very distinctive expertise is needed. And I'll give examples for both, right? So for example, domain SMEs, right? And core
mm,
banking operations, insurance underwriting, clinical coding. The domain SMEs stay distinct, stay human heavy, right?
right.
Similarly, enterprise solution architecture, security engineering. So these are the expertise kind of roles. And then for hard boundaries kind of roles, for example, data governance, privacy, legal compliance, right? Model research, foundation. So again, if I put it in a framework, probably roles which have very hard boundaries due to either compliance or roles which have very high expertise continue to be human heavy in the current form.
Sure.
Of course, things keep evolving over time. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. Great. It was great to see this. Thank you so much.
sure.
Thanks, Sapna. Sapna, which organization you're part of, and are you trying to do
Uh,
something similar?
Not yet. So I am from Unilever, and we're still trying to figure out what's the best way to kind of build our skills architecture. But what I found interesting is just how you've identified the blocks beneath identifying, profiles and skills. We're still some time away, I can say.
Got it. Got it.
Thank you.
Melody, you had a question. You want to go next? I have unmuted you as well, so
Thank you. So just two examples that I'd love to hear you talk through. One where you can be all in and you're doing this quarterly and the ROI that this can compound over time. And then the alternative where there's a limited budget and what sort of the dipping the toe into the water, so to speak, for this, the minimal sequencing that you would need to do to get measurable AI productivity gains.
Sure, Melody. Great question. So, Melody, like you mentioned that word, right? Budget constraints. We hit that quite a lot of times. So, typically, how we have seen this at companies for the roles which are very AI heavy, right, or need to be at the front line, like it could be a FTE or a Gen AI engineer. The organizations are doing it at like more frequent basis, a quarterly basis. And in fact, one of the organizations they have an ad hoc kind of process, right? So as stage, I can undergo those trainings and I can request even after a week, right, if I want to. So it's quite democratic in that way. But roles which are not that AI heavy, it could probably be your enabling functions, or it could even be your technical roles, but those are not at the forefront of technology, right? That's where typically we have seen half yearly or even sometimes annual, like for automotive and all, those kind of frequencies. But yeah, overall, that's how we have seen. Som, Chinmay, if you want to add anything on top of that, please do.
Sorry, I was on mute. Melody, I think when there are constraints around budget, right? And at the same time, you need to drive AI interventions. One of the things which organizations would like to do is just get a sense of the baseline on where do people lie in this whole spectrum, how ready they are. Even if you don't look at AI skills, just looking at their basic skills, right? Defining the skill ontology or the skill taxonomy, knowing who knows what kind of skills, creating at least a one-time point of view on which skills over a period of time will decline and which skills will be more important. That can be a one point of time intervention as well, right? Even if you don't want to do it quarterly or 6 monthly or even annually, and then that will drive a set of interventions around like baselining, then figuring out like, okay, these are the few skills which we need to double down on. If people really need to be AI ready, then these are the few skills which as an organization we should try and probably take a call on whether to build those skills or whether to hire those skills. Having said that, across organizations, we do see that there's a huge dearth of AI ready talent. And more often than not, companies are doubling down on building those kind of AI ready skills. To the extent that some companies might be going ahead and making it a bit more democratic and saying that, hey, please learn these kind of new skills. Some other companies are trying to make it a little bit of a carrot and stick kind of approach, wherein if you don't upskill yourself, then probably like you will not get promoted or we will ding you on your performance management, right? So in a way, they are trying to see how you can almost force fit this kind of a transformation, right? Given all the change management challenges that we are aware of. We have also seen some organizations go all the way to like even to their boards, to the CXOs, pushing them to like do almost a week-long boot camp, build agents, just so that at the top level itself, people are aware what is the art of the possible. Because in the absence of that, what happens is you might just think, okay, this is yet another new thing and it'll go away, right? So you've heard this from BNY Mellon, for example, one of the largest custodian companies out there, right? Like they are on this journey on AI readiness in a big way, and they are like top down enforcing or making sure that people actually build at least one agent and right up to the CEO, not necessarily only at the middle management or to the junior employees. So that also creates a little bit of the burning platform that, hey, this is the next new thing we have to do. This is no other choice.
Thank you.
Yeah. And are you doing something similar in your organization, Melody? Like talk a bit about like what you have seen work or not work.
No, I don't have anything to do with this area. I'm just nosy. I am a trainer of medical science liaisons in a pharma company.
Okay. But we are seeing pharma companies also like because they are very knowledge intensive, they're also going through this journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions we may have missed on the chat window, Sonali, Chinmay?
Tej, there are a few which you want to address.
Yes, Sonali, if you can just mention.
Yeah, it's in the chat. I have pasted it there so you can read it easily on the WhatsApp chat, so it's easy for you.
Okay, sure. Uh, There's one question which says, can you share a concrete example of client that ran the full AIQ loop quarterly and specific ROI realized from tooling plus upskilling investments? It's a good question. I would say AIQ has been, so some of these AI transformations we have seen starting only in last 1 year, but I will give you one or two examples where with both skills management and AIQ, people have identified ROI. So at one of the clients, they used, which is the first case study I showed in the webinar itself, to define what are the roles that can actually give them higher billing in the market, right? Which are more AI first. Sorry, I'm hearing some echo. Yeah. So what are the roles that will give them higher billing or higher pricing leverage in the market? And Then they used a mix of AIQ as well as skill management system, which encompasses the learning experience and everything to determine who are the best fit on those roles, upskill them, actually put them on those projects. And through this exercise, they were able to within 2 quarters improve their pricing on new accounts by almost 4 to 5%, which just directly flew got into the PNL, right? So that was one good case study. And of course, even beyond that, just from talent perspective, moving people's capability on AI skills, emerging skills, using that to talk in their investor presentations, in their client conversations to get better deals, more deals. That was probably not measured economically, but did convert a lot of these things. Again, I wanted to highlight it's not just AIQ skill management. Any transformation like this needs many things to come together, right? Your commercial models, your change management models, your tooling, system infra. So it was a mix of all these things. But then, of course, AIQ and skill management system did play a big part on running this at scale versus on an ad hoc basis. So that was one case study that I could remember. Sure. I have other questions also. Chinmay, you want to take one? Maybe I'll read it out for you because I think I've been talking for quite some time. This is the one. What are the biggest barriers you are seeing on AI adoption today? Skills, culture, leadership, or governance? So maybe Som, Chinmay, you can start and then I can add to this.
Chinmay, you want to? Okay. Else I can, right? See, often I think it's a cold start problem, though people know that it's an issue. If on one hand you say talent is your biggest asset and say skill is a currency to that talent or an asset to that asset, and you don't have a strong point of view on skills of today, skills of tomorrow, and how to bridge the gap, then clearly something is going off, right? I think the biggest problem or the biggest barrier is the cold start problem that, hey, like how do we get started? And often like companies have taken different ways, like for example, they might want to build that skill taxonomy. One challenge that we see, especially in non-tech organizations, is like how do we get started with a skill taxonomy in the first place? Often you would have different taxonomies floating around on Excel sheets, on HCM systems, on recruitment systems, on performance management systems. So there's no one dictionary which you can use to communicate, right, on what is the top skill, what is the declining skill, right? So that I think is a big challenge. We often work with clients on this, like we end up like we across industries we have a point of view on the skill ontology, on the skill taxonomy, again coming as an output of the knowledge graph that we maintain. And then of course large organizations will think that we are very different, right, rightly so, and we work with them to define or refine the starting point on skill taxonomy. The second barrier is around just the fact that it's no longer like trying to learn something just because something new has come, or I'm changing roles, but creating that sort of a mindset that organizations which will thrive would need to be a lot more adaptable, and that learning needs to be continuous, right? It need not be only when you are moving a role or you're moving a job, because the pace of change at which things are happening, unless you are abreast with what's latest and you're always like moving yourself beyond your comfort zone, very likely that you'll be left behind. And this is more at the individual level. And therefore, again, the barrier that I've seen is a little bit of this carrot and stick. If you just make it carrot, like, okay, fine, like you do all the right things, it will give you new internal job mobility opportunities and so on. That is good. But it has to be some combination of stick also, to be very honest. You need to have some linkage to performance management. Some of our clients are putting a lot of weightage on capability building in their performance management because they are seeing the writing on the wall. Because else what will happen is those only 15-20% people who are like over enthusiastic, who are generally take initiatives, they will end up transforming themselves, they will end up upskilling, whereas the rest, like 70-80% of the organizations will remain the same. So creating a little bit of this burning platform top down and making it part of the BAU core processes, be it onboarding, be it performance management, goes a long way in accelerating the change. Sorry,
Thank
last
you
thing,
so
like Yeah, sorry, last thing, putting a dollar number to all of this, right? Because CXOs, CEOs, they'll not throw budgets unless you create the case for change from ROI point of view. And this is high ROI, especially for professional services, tech services organizations, but now lately even for non-tech organizations, be it an FMCG or pharma company, any organization which you think is at least going towards being more knowledge intensive, because knowledge itself is changing, right? So therefore you need to change. So quantifying the impact and then creating the case for change helps drive at least alignment across the different functions of the organization.
Thank you, Som. And yeah, I will agree. I mean, for me, I don't know if you would call it a culture, a cultural problem, but most organizations don't know their people, right? They don't know their full capabilities simply because they're not measuring their skills, capturing them, and understanding that they're doing it by roles. So I think that is by far the biggest barrier that I've seen. We're at time. This has been great, by the way. Great questions. Everyone in this room, your organizations, you're already investing in AI, whether it's through ChatGPT or Claude or something like that, something just very small and off the shelf. You're already investing in it, and the question isn't really, is it going to impact the workforce? I think the true question is, do you have the right tools, the right capabilities to in place to measure your individual's capabilities and then to be able to manage it? So what you need to be able to do is effectively harness what activity is currently going on with AI and then direct it in a unified manner to reach the company's objectives, the organizational goals, right? And that's what we've been talking about today is how can you take that and all go in the same direction, because everyone's doing it. Thank you all for joining. If you'd like to continue this conversation, by all means, please reach out to us, anyone that was on this panel, or reach out to Prism Force in general, and we'll be more than happy to pick up the conversation with you. Yeah, after that.
And we'll also share the recording of the webinar along with the pages that we shared today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.